Good afternoon. We thank you so
Yes.
much for joining us for our recap here at the Victorious Church. What an amazing worship experience yet again, and
God.
yet amazing, mighty word from God. Listen, this is Palm Sunday, and Pastor really brought it home to us as the meaning of what Palm Sunday is all about.
Yes, he absolutely did. I really felt that the praise and worship really led us into his sermon, which was speaking about Hosanna and speaking about Palm Sunday and how these different parts of Palm Sunday really bring things into focus.
Amen.
I really loved his first point about how sometimes obedience doesn't make sense because sometimes God is going to ask us to do things that doesn't make sense. You know, whether it's something as simple as how he sent them to go get the donkey, it could be something as simple as us not understanding God's purpose for what he has for us to do. So it can be, why am I being nice to this person that's being mean to me? You know, why am I loving my enemy? When you don't know if you could possibly change that person's perspective on life, you change how that person is moving, how they're acting, and they could look at you and say, wow, if this person do that, maybe I should change the way that I am.
Yeah. And again, obedience is not negotiable. You
Right.
can't negotiate your way through obedience with God. It either is or it isn't.
Right.
There's
Right.
there's no give to it. But he's given us instructions, specific instructions on how to treat one another and how to love on one another and how to respect one another when it all goes according to his word. And if we are aligned with his word, we are aligned with his purpose and with what it is that he's asking of us. So we can't look at it as, oh, well, I don't have to be obedient today. No, you should be obedient
Right.
every single day.
Right.
Because again, if you want to be used by God, you have to understand what it is to be obedient to God.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that when you have that kind of mindset, it's a lot easier, when we're saying about serving God and being willing to serve without attention.
Yeah.
If you have that in you and it's an innate desire to help people, you're not looking for attention. I think Jim Carrey was one that was talking about how when people are trying to feed somebody that's homeless, they're pulling their camera out. And the first thing
Yeah.
you see is they're pulling their phone out and they're handing somebody a sandwich. You don't have to go on social media and say what you're doing for other people. If you see somebody that needs prayer, somebody that needs something to eat, or somebody that just needs some encouragement or some type of help in some form, you don't have to go telling everybody so that you can get credit. You don't have to feel like you need something in return, because it should be something that you're having this desire to be just like God or just like Jesus and do the things that he did. When he went around helping people, it was not about the credit or being somebody who is this high esteem. And I think that's another reason why he chose that donkey, because he's not riding in on some
Something
horse-drawn
known.
carriage with like gold everywhere,
Yeah.
because it's not about that. And
But just like Pastor said, the donkey wasn't used for that. It wasn't
right.
used to holding weight. It wasn't used to holding anything like people's
Yes.
luggage. It was just there. It was there to be. But for
Purpose.
it to carry the King of Kings
Right.
into that city where everybody was praising him and worshiping him. But going back to what you said, though, he didn't choose the donkey because of its intentions for its name to
Right.
be called. It was used because he's like, I have need of you.
Right.
And that's the thing. We don't look at people going, I have need of you. We look at people sometimes going, I'm going to do this for you, but I need you to give me the recognition by calling my name. And I
Right.
love how Pastor said, sometimes you just got to do stuff without even people knowing your name.
Right.
They don't have to know your name. Nobody has to call your name, because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it unto God. And that is what we need to wrap our minds around in today's church, that we do not have to have our names called, because we're here to glorify God.
Yes.
We're here to magnify God. We're here to represent the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, no matter if it is Palm Sunday. At the end of the day, you want to hear him say, servant, thy good and faithful servant, well done. That is what you want to hear him say.
Yes, I agree. And I think that some people, they are focused on the wrong things, about the vehicles that they're using in order to carry out God's will or to carry out what they need to do. And I think that we can also see ourselves in a reverse part of that as being the donkeys ourselves as well, because God will take you in whatever form you are, and he will put something on you, but it's never a burden too big for you to carry. It's never a task too big for you to carry.
Yeah.
And so I think that is really great too, that he moved into how the miracle is waiting on the release, and God can use you but there are some things that he has to free us from first.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people don't realize that it can be the smallest things that you don't even realize that you're doing. And sometimes it becomes a habit. So if you have like this negative attitude, or you have this spirit where you don't know how to forgive, those things can hinder you from, being successful and being able to be used by God. So you have to be able to let him move around in you, and you have to be malleable.
That's good. That's very good, because at the end of the day, we want to be free. We want to be free in our minds. We want to be free in our spirits. We want to genuinely be free, not just saying I'm free. And that's the thing. People will say, I'm free, but you're still angry. I'm free, but you're still harboring unforgiveness.
Yes.
I'm free, but you still got doubt. I'm free, but you still won't speak to the person that sits next to you or that you see every day. You won't open your mouth to say anything about God, but you say you're free. No, that's not free. That's called stuck. But God really wants to free us.
I agree.
And he wants to free us in mind, body, heart, and in spirit. And we can't allow God to move around like you said. If we're saying, okay, God, you can free me only in this area right here, but I'm going to hold on to this right here because this still makes me feel good. No, then you're not free, and you're not moving in obedience, and you're not waiting for the miracle to be released, because he can't operate in any of that. Any of that if you're not free.
Yes, I agree. And I think you got to clean the room, and I think it's really interesting too. Like, people have a lot of anger issues or things that are pent up in them. It can really cause them to act differently. It could be one person that they see and it ruins their entire day. Now you're reacting towards other people. If you have selfish desires, those can also cause you to have this mindset where you're thinking about just yourself. And toxic relationships, I think, are a really big one as well, that you have to pull yourself away from, because there are people, I was just talking to my little cousin about that last night, about how there are certain people you have to draw yourself away from, because they will pull you back into something else that you're trying to better yourself from, and then they may get upset, they may get mad, but if they're pulling you away from God, or they're talking in a way that seems like they're trying to push you away from God, you have to correct them. And I was kind of doing that as well too, when he started talking about how he feels like, oh, everybody's judgmental in churches, and I'm like, well, not the church I go to.
Right.
And he's like, oh, no, it's got to be a judgmental church. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I was like, you have to move yourself around other people. So if you're in a church where you feel like that's happening, move to another church that, actually doesn't give you that feeling, so the relationships that you're building are a lot better. Because, once Christ frees us, he does give us a new desire to follow and serve him.
Yeah. And again, understanding what your purpose is. Listen, what an amazing word today. I pray that this word blesses you all the way that it blessed us. But again, just go back and look into your mind and your story. Are you doing everything that God has purposed you for? And in that, if you're having to answer why, then you don't have an understanding. But you need to understand your why, so that you can go forward in purpose. Listen, again, man, what amazing word. I don't know what pastor has been eating at home, but it has been very meaty. So listen, if you don't have a place to worship, you don't have a place to call home, we here at the Victorious Church, we would love to have you and love to grow with you, walk with you, and we would love to show you the love of Jesus Christ. So again, join us every Sunday here at 10 a.m. here at the Victorious Church. But don't forget to join us every Tuesday for Real and Relevant Bible Study in-house at 7 p.m. And listen, Pastor has something great that he teaches us here. Never start your day off and your week off without God. So every Monday morning at 7 a.m., join us for Monday morning prayer. We would love to hear your prayer requests. We would love to come into agreement with you, whatever it is that you're believing God for. We just want to align with God and his word and his purpose for our lives and your lives. So again, like, share, and comment this broadcast, and hit that subscribe button here at the Victorious Church. We would love you. And as we say here, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.